All right, and we are live.
Hello, YouTube.
All right, so a short recap of last time. It's the aftermath of the second giant war. The gods give the seven gifts, usually immortality. Percy refuses godhood again.
He, then a new son of Zeus appears on the block,
Yeah.
and like 2 seconds
Somehow
later,
within a
Percy
week.
walks in on him playing hide the pickle with Annabeth. Um,
It takes all of a month for this new son of Zeus to turn all of Camp Half
these
Blood
codes ain't loyal. All
against
these rap artists
Percy.
have always been warning us about this.
Oh my god.
the
It's like
and
the Athena kids would have known better than to trust like the literal new guy.
You think they'd
and
know better than
then
to trust the son of Zeus?
as Percy is going to meet Annabeth to propose to her, he walks in on her and this new son of Zeus, and
Join the duo.
not quite, but close enough. Percy loses his shit and beats the hell out of this son of Zeus.
Which he should have
But
done
it,
in the first week.
oh yeah, he should have done it a long time ago. But but it doesn't matter.
Great.
The son of Zeus has already won. He got what he wanted, and Percy runs away like a little bitch. And now we go into chapter 2. Ocean's Fury, Ocean's Despair. Disclaimer: I do not own Percy Jackson or any characters mentioned in this story.
Thank God.
All rights go to Rick Riordan. This is all purely made up and written for entertainment. Ocean's Fury, Ocean's Despair.
Was the name of the chapter Ocean's Fury?
It's the name of the chapter's Ocean's Fury, Ocean's Despair.
Okay, that's kind of edgy.
Oh, very much edgy. It's like a pizza cutter.
Except the pizza cutter is cutting itself. Um,
Well, I meant in the sense that it's all edge and no point.
damn. All right. That's better than what I said.
Previously. Sitting on the beach, Percy reflected on those painful memories and wondered why did the fates hate him so much? Hasn't he done enough to deserve some peace and happiness? Apparently not. Pushing up from the ground, Percy began his trek once more to get away from Camp Half-Blood as fast as he could. He needed to come up with a plan to take care of his demigod scent, or he wouldn't last very long. Wait! Didn't Leo, Piper, Jason say that they ran into Medea once and she had all sorts of potions for all types of stuff?
Wait, isn't this where we ended off like
Yeah,
rereading the last chapter? Or
previously.
oh my gosh, previously on is literally just the last two words of the last chapter.
Yep.
What the hell?
Maybe there was a potion that could get rid of his scent. That's a good place to start as any, Percy thought as he
Maybe
began
the potion
walking
is
once
called
again.
deodorant.
Now,
Yeah.
Percy POV. First thing that I needed to do before I set out is to get rid of my scent and begin my new life. I need to see my mom one last time and let her know I'm gonna be okay. I can only imagine how worried she was when I disappeared those 8 months, and how frantic she must have been. She was just as frantic as as she was when I disappeared.
There we go. Not calling the people you hate by their actual name.
As if we don't know.
Well, I mean, honestly, this soon it makes sense to not want to even think her name.
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
but
like
it's
this
still
scene is in
ridiculous and
5 minutes
cliche.
after he walked in on her, cucking the shit out of him.
Right?
But someone who's technically what, her brother, her uncle? How does that whole thing work? I'm fuzzy on the
Cousin.
details.
Wait,
Okay,
no.
so Percy is
Yes,
technically
yes.
her cousin.
Yes,
The son of
technically
Zeus is technically
her
uh
uncle.
yeah, her uncle. Basically all of Greek mythology is incest.
Yep.
Yep.
That's why the Japanese should make more stuff about it. It's right down their alley.
Do that. They got their own pantheon already.
Dude, what the fuck?
Walking along the familiar streets of New York, I began to feel a bit of nostalgia run through me. The lights, the sounds, the hustling and bustling of the city that never sleeps. The place where I grew up, and the place that was my city. Walking along the cracked sidewalk, looking up at the old buildings around me, I couldn't help but remember the battle that took place on these very streets. The sounds of past friends' defiant war cries as they met the monster army head on. Sounds of metal and battle howling through the streets. And, worst of all, the screams of dying demigods as they fell into Thanatos' cold grip defending Olympus and each other. Shaking my head vainly, trying to clear my mind of the painful memories, I kept on walking until I reached the familiar old apartment building where my mom and Paul lived. Looking at the building, I felt a bit unease and a little tingle on the back of my neck as the little hairs began to stand up.
Gonna blow up and kill them.
It wouldn't be a Percy Jackson betrayal fic without it.
Oh gosh.
Yep, he's about to lose his mom, his stepdad, and his little sister.
Please tell me he's not actually about. It's gonna be like a gas leak or something, or the fucking Snidely Whiplash, fucking son of Zeus.
Zeus pulled a Draco, went and whined to Daddy about Percy beating him up, and now Zeus is getting revenge.
Please tell me
That's what I'm predicting.
I hope not.
I instinctively reached into my pocket, pulling out my trusty pin Riptide. Something wasn't right. Years of being a demigod made me trust my senses and instincts in a lot of situations.
My entire life of being a demigod.
Right? And they are rarely ever wrong. That little voice in the back of my mind was yelling at me, "Danger! Danger!" as I made my way into the building. Walking up the stairwell, I kept a hand on Riptide, ready to uncap it at a moment's notice, should there be a threat.
The son of Zeus fucking his mom or something.
Oh god! And now, Percy, my revenge is complete!
It was... It's like son of Zeus starts doing the fucking reverse flash.
It was me, Percy! It was me, Percy. I was Paul all along. Turning into the hallway leading to my mom's apartment, I noticed something odd. Or a lack of something. There was no noise. An apartment filled with people, and it was eerily silent as I made my way to my mom's door. A cold sense of dread began to grip my heart as I saw the door slightly ajar. Suddenly, a cry of pain and fear broke through the building like a gunshot sound, and panic filled me as I recognized that cry. The cry of my mother. Uncapping Riptide.
Stepfather can be a fucking, like, abuser or some shit.
I mean, we already had Smelly Gabe for that. So I really hope not.
This guy was like a nice dude.
Yeah, Paul was awesome. Even Poseidon liked Paul.
Didn't this guy also kill like a snake woman or something during the New York battle?
Yes.
Like he said it was a schoolgirl or something as he perceived it because of the magic mist.
Yeah, yes, Paul,
Yeah.
the teacher, just killed a random schoolgirl. It wasn't a snake woman. They just always let him believe it.
Anyway,
Uncapping Riptide, I barreled into the room, and what I saw froze me in horror. Pausing for dramatic irony. A trio of monsters was standing in my mother's living room. 2 Dracana and an Impuso were standing there over the bodies of my mom and stepdad.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Two bronze spears were pierced through Paul's chest and stomach, and blood covered his clothes and the ground he was laying on. But what chilled my blood was the blood trickling from the Impusas as she hovered over my mother, who had 2 small teeth holes on the side of her pale neck. Seeing that, anger roared in my ears as I let out a yell of anger, and water burst from the sink and pipes in the wall.
In my ears, let out a yell of anger.
Right?
I guess Percy is a cartoon character now. He just basically screams like a pot of tea, like a kettle.
Right? Percy's going Super Saiyan.
except he's very whiny about it.
The water swirled around me in an angry maelstrom as I created 4 tentacles of water with sharp ice tips and willed them to slam into the 2 snake women that were standing over Paul's corpse.
This could be turned very interesting real fast if you use those tentacles for a different reason. I can't be the only one who thought that.
No, I also thought that.
Anyway, moving on.
I'll have dirty minds.
You know what server we're in, right?
They let out a wail of pain as the water spears slammed into them, piercing through their chests and stomach, killing them in a similar manner in the way that they killed Paul. Ironic justice, I thought grimly before turning back to the monsters.
He could save others from death, but not himself.
So boring.
Okay, Rikido Naruto commenting on YouTube says, I wonder if anyone reading the chat. Yes, I am reading the chat. I just hadn't responded yet.
What the hell is a manticore doing?
The Impusa turned towards with an apprehension and slight fear on her face, before it was replaced with a malicious smile. Wiping some of the blood from her mouth with her fingers, she brought them to her mouth as she licked the blood of them. Repetition is repetitive.
Yes, it is.
People die when they are killed.
To jump.
Also, what did a gunshot
You have
came
been playing
from?
for 50,790 hours. You should take a break.
And what if I could, Mom?
No, I'm asking a question. Where did the gunshot sound came from? They were armed with spears and one just bite into his mom's neck. That shouldn't make a gunshot sound.
What if the impellers of biting into his mom sounds like a gun, though?
They'll never expect a gun thing.
Well, no.
Indeed.
No, it's not a gunshot sound. He's comparing the cry of pain and fear to a gunshot sound.
Oh.
It's a very poor metaphor.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a very shitty metaphor.
Very poor pick.
Okay, Rikido Naruto on YouTube is Godly Perverted Sage from Zero's server. Welcome to the stream, I guess. Okay, where was I? There we are.
The blood of
Who are you? Why are you here? I yelled, leveling my sword at her as water continued to swirl around me. Oh, the son of Poseidon. Fancy meeting you here. I was just in the neighborhood and decided to come up here for a quick snack. I had no idea how delicious draining the hero of Olympus' mother could be.
Why would a random monster attack a random fucking mortal? It would have to be targeted.
Unless Percy's little sister isn't Paul's daughter after all.
Wait, since when did he have a
Poseidon
little
got on so
sister?
well with Paul, like Paul never realized it.
I only read the
Paul's a true victim of this fic. Not only was he killed, he was cocked.
He knew what he signed up for when he got into all this crap.
She replied in a peppy voice of cheerleaders, with an undertone of malice in her voice. Her red eyes glittered with gleeful hatred as she said those words. Trembling with rage, I shot my hands out to her, willing the water spears to pierce her through her arms, legs, shoulders, and pinning her to the wall. She screeched in pain as the cocky smile was wiped off her face.
Hurt me harder, Daddy.
As fear replaced it as she looked into the glowing, rage-filled sea-green eyes of the son of the sea god as he walked towards her. As.
I'm sorry, did you just say ass?
No, I said as.
Because I was gonna say like maybe that's what Percy is
2,
gunning for.
3.
4 uses of as
Going
in
right
one
up
sentence.
Main Street.
Why is this JoJo's Bizarre Adventure all of a sudden?
It could turn into that.
You killed my
Never
mother.
anything different.
Sucks.
You killed my mother, I said in a deathly quiet voice. You killed the greatest woman on this planet. For that, your death will be painful. I will rip you limb from limb as you beg for death. But first, who sent you? I don't know what you're talking about. Ah! She screamed as I slammed
love how,
Riptide
like,
into her
his
stomach.
Fucking microphone actually did kind of cut off on my end as he screamed, so it sounded really genuine.
I'm not gonna
It
lie.
sounded like just someone
It
had
sounds
yanked
like
him away from the
Percy
side.
has a major Oedipus complex.
What?
It sounds like Percy is like
He is Greek.
very, very much like Oedipus right now. As in, he wants to nail his mom.
Well, I believe
I
the Greek
mean,
drama guy already did that.
that's a bit of a stretch.
I just feel like the whole saying, "You just killed the greatest woman in the world." I want to tell you.
I mean, he repeatedly calls her the greatest woman in canon, alive in
So
canon.
maybe
and so...
Rick Riordan was hinting at something all along.
Oh God! Tell me who sent you! I yelled in a constrained voice. Gaia! She gasped out. Gaia sent me. She came up with the plan that should.
Sleep.
She came up with the plan that should she fail in rising, that we were to seek out and kill your family.
Why? Like, why? What's the fucking point?
It's a pizza cutter. All edge and no point. It's just to remove all of Percy's ties to his old life.
Why not have just Paul just fucking crash the car and then just all die?
Because it has to be something that breaks Percy. A mortal car accident wouldn't break Percy. Yeah, it would make him sad, but this he can blame on himself.
Is it bad? I just imagine her just instead of saying guy, she goes like Ted from accounting. Apparently, Paul is behind his taxes.
No, it's Jake from State Farm. I froze as her words registered in my mind. Gaia. She did this. She
All
ordered
along
the
was
death
just
of my
Duolingo.
mother.
Big mistake recollections.
She ordered the death of my mother and stepdad because we beat her and her children. She was the one that took the best person in my life away from me. With a roar of fury, I yanked Riptide from the Impusa's stomach, and in one swift motion severed her head from her body, and watched as she crumpled into golden dust. I turned around and ran to my mother's side, dropping to my knees by her body. Her skin was a ghostly white, and blood continued to trickle out of the hole in her neck. Suddenly, I saw her eyes flutter a little bit. With a groan of pain, she opened her eyes and looked at me. Mom! I carefully wrapped my arms around her in a hug. Oh God, she was so cold. Don't worry, Mom. I'm gonna call the paramedics. You'll be alright. You're gonna be alright. I tried to reassure her, but I knew that she is only moments away from death. I could see it in her eyes. Percy, she said weakly. Percy, I just want to let you know that I am so proud of you. You are everything a mother could ever want in a son. Tears began to trickle down both our cheeks, as we both knew it was almost over and she would die soon.
I just love, like, it's supposed to be this really powerful, the death scene of Percy's mom, and you just screaming out how bored you are.
I was like, imagine that instead of this like long ass death scene, she goes like, Percy, go to the store and buy some milk. I forgot to get that.
I remember the fucking scene in Kung Pao where it's like he keeps running back and forth, like everyone's
Yes.
dying, but keeps resurrecting. Die again.
Yes, that's a great comparison. Kung Pao is a great movie. You should watch it.
And also order some, because it's delicious. Watch Kung Pao while eating Kung Pao.
Listen to me, Percy. Don't let your heart be lost to anger, bitterness, and hate, my mom whispered. Don't lose yourself, and don't lose yourself to grief.
Lose yourself to dance instead.
Know that I will always love you, and I want you to move on from this.
Move on from what?
But Mom, I can't lose you two. I can't. I sobbed out. I could feel her hands starting to weaken, and her eyes were beginning to close. I already lost so much. Please don't leave me too. Please. It's my time, Percy. I could barely hear her voice. You are so strong, Percy. You will do so much more in this world. I love you, baby. I love you. Okay, now I'm getting some Oedipus vibes.
Yeah.
I wasn't below.
Also, I feel like I can actually leave my room, go out to a fast food joint, get a burger, come back, and they will still be doing this death monologue.
Right?
Wait, you actually did that?
No, he's saying he feels like he could.
Oh,
Yeah.
do it.
It's like the flashback thing from last chapter. It could be condensed down to like 1/10 of its size and we'd still lose nothing.
I just love the idea that while doing this, we're all in the same room, and I just leave during the middle of it and start cooking, and just come back with a plate of spaghetti.
Or a steak.
I love you too, Mom.
Oh, she's still dying, so you haven't missed much.
I whispered in a
Just
voice
made the
chocked
Last
with
Supper.
emotion. With that final comment, Mom closed her eyes with a faint smile on her lips. I could feel the life leave her, and I knew she was gone. Throwing back my head, I let out a wail of pain and sorrow. The ground shook violently, and storm clouds were swirling in the sky
Rip
outside.
off the fucking scene from Revenge of the Sith. With Darth Vader yell.
Is it
I
bad
mean,
to imagine?
honestly, that is not exclusive to Star Wars. So
No, is it bad? I just imagine instead of that, just imagine Percy just reacting like Nick Avocado, like nah.
Imagine watching Nick Avocado.
I have no
I
idea
don't-
what that is.
Some
guy
fat
who's
ass.
killing himself.
Yeah,
The ground
basically that.
shook violently, and storm clouds were swirling in the sky outside. I just lost my mother. She was brutally murdered in front of my eyes. Nothing would be right ever again. Don't lose yourself, Percy. I love you. My mom's words whispered in my mind.
Enter Artemis.
Yeah, the pairing is Artemis.
The pairing is Pertimus,
God.
so
Never mind the fact that that would not happen like in the series at all.
a couple of monsters sent by Maya after she got put to sleep.
Like,
Vermeil, that's who killed Percy's mom.
Got super comed in the way that Oranos was, or whatever the heck.
Oh, it's gonna be easy for Percy to get revenge then. He's just going to have to stab a comatose bitch.
Oh God.
This is for killing my mother, you whore. He just runs into God Hospital.
Wiping the tears from my eyes, I stood up and went to the closet in the hallway. I got out some bed sheets and carried back to my parents' bodies. I began to wrap them in the sheets. After the bodies were fully wrapped, I placed 2 drachmas on each body, praying for quick and safe passage to my uncle's realm. Hold on. There's been no mention of his little sister.
Either she didn't exist or she got fucking vored. As
Did the author forget about Percy's little sister?
Sister. Do you ever have one?
He
Yeah.
did have one. I assume she got vored.
Oh God. Yes, both Percy's mom and Paul are dead.
Yeah,
But his little sister is nowhere to be found.
Yet, by the time this happened.
I just find it odd that if she does exist, Percy hasn't thought of her yet.
Just watch. There's gonna be an author note saying about the sister. Don't worry
Fuck.
about it.
Yeah, apparently Paul did not have enough balls to fuck Percy's mom. Oops.
Please, uncle, let them pass to your realm quickly and peacefully. Let them enter Elysium. They more than deserve it, I prayed as I fell to my knees in grief. Third person POV. Suddenly, the fireplace in the living room erupted into flames, and out of the flames stepped Hestia, goddess of the hearth and home, in her 20-year-old form with a saddened expression on her face.
Holy shit, it's Hestia in her MILF form. I didn't know she had that, but I'm...
Well, no, she needs about 10 more years for her MILF form. This is her co-ed form.
This is a pre-MILF form.
Yeah. 20 years old is her co-ed form. 30 would be MILF.
Good point.
And
Okay,
yes, I
that's
do know that 20-year-olds can be moms, but...
That's kind of fucked up.
Yes, but would you like to fuck them? Because remember what the ILF stands for in MILF.
I mean, it could be worse.
It could?
Yes.
Yes. There is a such thing as middle school pregnancy, Everpeach.
Wait, what did you just say?
He said middle school pregnancy, and I'm changing the subject
I
now.
really wish you, like, we were having a good time, and then you just had to bring up fucking middle school pregnancy.
Let's move
I
on.
told you it could be worse.
Let's move on.
Oh,
Yeah, you asked if it could be worse, Peaches. You asked.
No words were needed as she
Yeah.
crossed the room and sank to her knees, as she wrapped the young man in her embrace, as he cried into her shoulder, wrapping his arms around her. Perseus, I am so sorry for your loss. I saw through my hearth on Olympus what happened, and I came as soon as I could. That's what she said.
Why didn't you step in and stop this?
I mean, there's those rules about direct interference.
Isn't his mom getting fucking eaten direct interference on the part of Gaia, though?
No, because she's using monsters to do it.
Can't they also just use people, like, teleport someone down there or something?
They could,
these nymphs and things on Olympus.
Stop poking holes in it. There's already enough of them. Percy didn't even reply, as he was now softly weeping onto the goddess's shoulder. Since when was there more than one goddess, and why did they only have one shoulder? Hestia looked down at the young hero in front of her, and she could hardly recognize her favorite demigod. His hair was wild and disheveled, while his once bright sea-green eyes were a dull green and bloodshot from crying. Not only was his appearance different, but also his posture was that of a broken man, with slumped shoulders and a hopeless expression on his face. He did not look like Percy Jackson, hero of Olympus. He just looked like a defeated man who lost nearly everything in this world. Lady Hestia, Percy said in a small, broken voice, could you please take care of their bodies? Could you take them to Montauk Beach, where they can be buried by the cabin, please? Hestia nodded her head sadly, and with a wave of her hand, she, Percy, and the bodies vanished in a column of flames. They arrived at Montauk Beach by the cabin Percy and his mother always went to when he was a kid. The goddess and the demigod were still holding each other in an embrace, still feeling the effects of grief. Hestia again waved her hand, as both shrouds were engulfed in warm flames, and the ashes were spread over the beach and the water. Finally, Percy released Hestia from the hug, knelt down, and bowed to the goddess. Thank Lady Hestia for doing this.
Because of course.
This means so much to me, and I know my mom would want to be buried here. I mean, she wasn't buried, she just had her ashes spread. There is a difference.
Yep.
Imagine some kid, like, making a sandcastle out of his mom's ashes, like, the next day.
Oh, God.
Like, oh, what is this piece of bone?
It was godly flames. There is no bone left.
But just imagine the mom's skull serving as the castle gate or something.
Oh, God.
The kid skulls with a skull throne. The kid's making the fucking grass citadel or some shit.
Hestia looked at the kneeling demigod before she reached out and lifted him from the bow. Percy, please do not bow to me. You, of all people, should never have to bow to me for what you did for me. You saved my family twice, and you have returned my throne to my brother and me. No one else would have ever done that for us, but you did. So please don't bow, and please, just call me Hestia, Hestia said with a small smile. Percy only shook his head at Hestia with a ghost of a smile appearing on his lips for the first time since his mom died. His mom literally just died.
Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah,
say.
his mom died like 5 minutes ago.
Man.
Apparently, Percy gets over shit real fast.
Right?
My mom is dead. Smile, boy. Okay.
My mom is dead, Hot Goddess says to smile. Okay. It is because I respect you and because what you do for Olympus that I bow to you. You keep hope alive on Olympus, and when all else fails, You protect and are the last line of defense. You keep the Olympians a family, and it is because of that that I bow to you. Why do you think I gave you Pandora's box during the Second Titan War? It is because hope survives best at the hearth. You are a goddess worthy of respect, and you are my favorite goddess. Poor Artemis. Not starting off at a very good point in their future relationship. Hestia was stunned. Never had a demigod ever shown her this level of respect, and it touched her heart. She even felt a little wetness on her. What?
I said, I tell you, I get no respect, no respect. This is a reference to, no, not Don Rickles. Fuck, I forgot the comedian's name. That's a reference to a comedian.
Oh. She even felt a little wetness on her. Okay.
What the fuck does that mean?
What the hell? Yes. Basic, manners. It gets all the girls' panties dropping.
As Percy just caress her like.
I love deliberate pauses to take things out of context. She even felt a little wetness on her as she raised a hand to her cheek and felt small, fiery tears on her cheeks.
What cheeks?
What fiery tears?
Percy is gonna be clapping if he's a real man.
Percy just goes like, "My mom is dead. I just bang this goddess."
She stepped forward and wrapped Percy in a hug. He returned the hug, and they stayed like that for a while, both trying to calm the raging storm of emotions within them. Stepping away, Hestia once again looked at Percy and asked him a question that would begin his journey into his new life.
I was expecting the next line as Percy slowly moves his hands downwards. Slowly grabbing her ass. Like, not just like...
A fiery blush covers Hestia's face as Percy's hands slowly move down. Percy, I know what happened at camp, and I know how much hope you have lost from losing your mother. I know how much you are hurting right now, but I would like to offer you something. Percy looked up, curious at the tone of voice she was using.
My V-card.
And to what she wanted to offer him. What she asked him next left him stunned.
Okay, what's she offering?
I'm guessing she's making him her champion or some shit.
I know that no one could ever replace your mother, but I would like to know if you would allow me to be your mother now.
Okay.
Percy, will you allow me to adopt you and to be my champion? Hestia asked in a hopeful voice. She's both adopting him and making him her champion.
Oh, 2-for-1 deal.
It's gonna be a 3-for-1 deal in the future if you catch my drift.
No, because he gets with Artemis and it looks like it's single pairing, so.
I mean, who knows what happens before he gets with Artemis. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Considering how disappointed we've been with this fic so far, you know. Hey, get fucked, Bellacore.
No, balls. It's not a mommy lolly. It's just a mommy because she's in her 20-year-old form.
Yeah, you know, we can't even have that. You know, he just takes everything we want away from us. The guy who writes this
Just
thing.
slowly make it go worse and worse.
You got a guy called this guy 40.
I see.
Got no roller.
I already noticed.
Okay. Hi.
Oh no, they're not in the VC anymore.
Who?
What was their name? No, the rollless individual.
This guy 40. All lowercase.
What, did he not have a goal or anything, or what?
He had no role.
He only had a
Hulk
color role.
or PFP.
Oh, holy shit.
Sorry. Taking me a little longer to navigate. Said it was this guy 40? Yeah, there he is. Percy was stunned speechless. His eyes widened to almost comically proportions, and his mouth was opening and closing like a gaping fish. Even though he just lost his mother, he longed to have another mother figure in his life. And who better to fill the position than his most favorite goddess?
Jesus, how fast does this kid move on?
The chapter's almost over, actually. We're like 2/3 through.
Not even a third of a chapter, and he's already looking for a new mother. Oh no, my mom just died. Good thing there's this one right here to replace her.
Yeah, if anything, wouldn't Percy be like super fucking insulted? His mom's body isn't even fully cold yet.
Yeah.
Her mother's ghost is just in the room like, what the fuck, son?
You're not supposed to move on that fast!
And Paul's like, what about me? He's not sad about me.
Well, he already has a dad. Paul was just a stepdad.
Oh, you're a stepdad. I don't get sad over you.
His mom's ghost is just standing there like,
what about you?
Even though he loves his mother with all his heart, it doesn't mean he can't have another one. And looking into Hestia's hopeful eyes, he caved. Finally shaking off his surprise, he looked to Hestia and smiled, the first true, genuine smile in a long time.
Yes, a long 10 minutes.
I would love to.
Give or take a couple hours.
Mom.
How long it took for him to run away from Camp Half-Blood or something.
Honestly, I love how fast he is like calling her mom.
Right?
Like, not even 1 second of hesitation.
Yeah, I love how it says
3 dots worth of hesitation.
it says he caved, but I didn't see much resistance for him to actually need to cave. Any percent speedrun of Grief completed in 3 minutes. Hestia
did the little sister skip where the author forgets that he has his little sister.
Right? Hestia beamed in happiness as she once again hugged her new son. An aura of orange and red flames swirled around the two before the flames were absorbed into Percy. Percy felt a sudden rush of power enter his body. He could feel some hope return to his heart. He could feel a new sensation that he couldn't quite identify. He reached out to this...
I'm pretty sure we know what that sensation is.
Enlighten us.
You really want me to enlighten you?
Yes.
Do it.
Do it.
Do you want me to make the MILF joke or the whole I'm a double W God joke?
Just do one.
Yeah.
I'll just do the MILF one because I know everybody's going to be expecting it. He's just going real hard over his new mom.
I mean, that's not a new sensation. Tia Mama, what you joined is us reading a Percy Jackson betrayal fic.
Yes,
where
someone who may very well be on this server, considering
possibly
their followed fix.
Where after losing his mom and Paul not 5 minutes ago, he's already calling Hestia mom.
Chill out, dog.
He reached out to this new sensation and brushed against it as he felt a new rush of strength flood into his system. He held out his hands and he felt a tingling sensation rush through his arms, into his wrists, into his hand before a small flame formed in his outstretched palm. He looked at the small flame dancing in his palm in wonder. Mesmerized by the small flame, he tried the same thing as he does with water and willed it larger. A similar tug in his gut signaled that something was happening, and he watched as the flames grew larger as they wicked and curled around his fingers in a tantalizing dance. Hestia watched in happiness as Sun began to discover his new abilities. Her son. She never thought she'd think those words due to her maiden oath, but now she couldn't be happier. Percy finally put out his fire and looked about ready to collapse before she rushed forward and caught him. He looked at her and she gasped as she saw his eyes.
They're literal bonfires now. So
They were still their old sea green, but now that she officially adopted him, they had a swirling ring of reddish-orange circling around his pupil. Like actual flames, she thought. She had to admit, they went really well with his eyes. The continuous swirl of the colors matching the flames of the hearth, and the waves of the sea were mesmerizing. Does that mean she had already unofficially adopted him?
maybe.
Food for thought. What? He asked. And why am I so tired? Your eyes. They're different. She conjured up a mirror for him. And you're so tired because you need to practice using your new powers. Wow, was his only response as he looked at his new eye color. He had to say, they looked pretty damn good. He turned back to see a smiling Hestia looking at him in amusement. Thank you, Mom. Damn, that felt nice to say. What other powers do I have? Well, being my son and champion gives you the power over the hearth and home. This means that you have the ability to summon and conjure fire. You can project it from any part of your body, manipulate it any shape you want, and you can absorb it. Also, if you get angry enough, you can change your fire into Greek fire. You can also travel using fire. From the home part of my sphere of power, you can summon any type of homemade food that families are supposed to have. You also have the ability to instill hope in others. Also, remember, the power of the hearth has the ability to heal as well as harm. Hestia replied. Percy was just left there gapping at her. Well, I guess there's a reason you're the eldest daughter of Kronos, he said as he got over his shock. She smirked at him. Well, you didn't expect an elder goddess, especially not the eldest daughter of Kronos, to have some pretty cool powers, now don't you? She said in a teasing tone. Percy blushed. I didn't mean... I don't... What I meant was... He was cut off as Hestia laughed. I just teasing, son. Now, I know you want to start a new life, and I will not send you back to live at Camp Half-Blood. That is a choice for you to decide. I have an idea on what you can do. Since you are now my champion, how would you like to find lost or hunted demigods, and make sure they get to camp safely? And of course, that's how he's going to run into Artemis again.
shove him right into the hunt so that he can be helped out and help them or something stupid.
Percy stiffened a little when she said Camp Half-Blood, and felt the familiar hurt worm its way back into his heart, but he pushed it down and looked at his new mother. That sounds like the best idea I've heard in a while, he said with a blank look on his face.
I'll go back to Camp Half-Blood.
Hestia frowned a little bit as she saw the pain flash through his eyes. She was a really peaceful goddess, but after seeing what the camp did to her son, she really wanted to go to that camp and hurt someone. Good. I do know you plan to go to Medea's shop to find a potion to get rid of your demigod scent so no one can find you. I will send you there. Make sure to look for a black potion with the little swirls of purple and silver. That will remove your demigod scent. Okay, just give me a minute to say one last goodbye. He turned to where the ashes were spread. Goodbye, Mom. Goodbye, Paul. I love you guys, and I will miss you. I'll never forget all you did for me. I will work on not losing myself, Mom. I promise. I love you. He turned back to Hestia and said, I'm ready. Hestia nodded and waved her hands, and Percy vanished in a column of flames. And done. So what do you guys think? Is it coming along all right? Hope you guys enjoyed it. Please leave a review if you liked it, and for any suggestions on how to make it better. Thanks.
I know a few ways to make it better. He did. So he definitely followed one of them.
Yeah. Bet he didn't stop here.
All the other kids with the bump.
What are you looking for?
The
Huh?
report button.
No. There we are. No auto-loading.
Seen in Old English ever, Pete?
Fuck you, Smurf.
Leaving-
I don't know Old English.
I need to
Oh,
leave a
fuck
review
you,
about
so
Percy's
that-
sister.
Saying in English while being an old man. Therefore, Old English.
Well, the thing is, Smurf's referencing the fact that he, in his fic, he actually has like one of the characters, while they're waiting for graduation, the Naruto like Shinobi Academy, one of the characters is singing "Pumped Up Cakes" in Old English. Let me find it. I'm not gonna sing it, but I will find it.
Chapter 3. Counsels and Confusion. Disclaimer. I do not own Percy Jackson or any characters mentioned in this story. All rights go to Rick Riordan. This is all purely made up and written for entertainment. Counsels and Confusion. Previously on Dragon Ball Z.
Percy's mom died.
And Percy got...
Percy got a new mom!
And he moved on from his mother's death incredibly fast.
And this
Saying
time
the
it's
world
not the
record
Scattered
speed
her
bump.
new
bones
mom
all
from the
across the beach.
Philippines that his dad brought back after his vacation. No.
Also, Percy's little sister doesn't exist. You got Thanos.
Yeah, Percy's little sister got Thanos snapped out of existence. That's what I had to leave a
At
review
least it's
about.
better than getting bored.
Honestly, I was expecting that to be the introduction to the hunt, and to have Percy drop his little sister off with Artemis.
That would at least be a decent way to have him visit every now and then, and for them to have a reason.
But it's
to-
just I've seen that happen a lot, is why I expected it.
We can pretty much just skip through this since it's just the last 5
Yeah,
paragraphs.
it's literally what we just read. I'm not reading this again.
Yes, you are. Do
No,
it.
I'm not. It's too late.
God, that helps you.
Now, third POV. Inside the throne room of Olympus.
They were dying of boredom.
The throne room of Olympus was in an uproar. Not long ago, there was a massive surge of power that swept through some of the gods' domains, mainly Zeus and Poseidon, which demanded an emergency meeting on Olympus. Poseidon and Zeus were shouting at each, demanding answers on how their domains were affected in such a massive way without them controlling it. Athena was sitting at her throne, trying to think of an answer that would explain the mysterious power surge. Hera and Demeter were sitting in their respective thrones, watching their husband and brother respectively yell at each other, and were wondering if they should step in. The way this is phrased
Sounds like they're both married.
sounds like they're both married to Zeus.
I mean, Zeus is very
I
known
know
for going around.
it's supposed to be.
I know what they're trying to say. It's Hera's husband and both of their brother.
No, they're trying to talk about Hera's husband and
Then Poseidon as both of their brother.
yeah.
That's
but-
what they're trying to say. But that's not what they said.
They just utterly fail at what they're doing.
They suck at writing. Moving on.
Artemis and Apollo were arguing with each other on who was older, with Artemis yelling at Apollo to stay away from her hunters while shooting arrows at him. Apollo was trying to dodge all the arrows that were being shot by his little sis. Hermes, Hephaestus, and Aphrodite were all sitting in their thrones. Hermes was making calls on his Caduceus about package deliveries. Hephaestus was tinkering with a few bits of metal, and Aphrodite was fixing her makeup. Ares was sharpening his sword and was looking on in excitement at all the fights that were escalating in the room. Dionysus was sleeping in his throne with a wine magazine open in his lap. Hades just sat in his throne, happy that he was finally allowed on Olympus and was no longer completely shunned by his family.
There's a little participation trophy.
Yes,
Thrown.
I get to participate now.
It just
I get
says,
to participate.
Small,
I should have brought
small
popcorn.
Hades. It's just like he's drawn like TV style.
Yes.
And everyone else.
like,
Bag
he's
of
like,
popcorn, just watching Poseidon and Zeus go at it. Offering the bag to Hestia every now and then.
He looked over at Hestia and her throne by the heath, and the solemn expression on her face in surprise. He was curious to know what had caused her to look so somber. Not being able to take it any longer, Hestia stood up from her throne and summoned a massive wall of fire from the hearth to surge into the middle of the room, shocking everyone out of their arguments and tasks.
oh,
Boring.
Now that I have your attention, why don't we speak in a civilized manner and not act like a bunch of bickering kids? Hestia asked in a slightly annoyed tone. All the gods nodded their heads slowly, all sitting down in their thrones, not wanting the normally peaceful goddess to show off her fire powers again. They were all a little shocked that Hestia looked slightly angered when she was addressing them. Okay then, Zeus cleared his throat. Now, as you all know, or have probably felt, most of our domains went wild down in the mortal world for a little while before we were able to settle them down. Does anyone know or have a theory as to why this incident has occurred? All the gods looked to Athena.
It's gonna be like, oh, Percy Jackson, it's his fault. I hate him. And I'm guessing it's gonna be Ares bashing, even though I hate Ares bashing. So obviously it's gonna be Ares bashing. It's gonna be
I mean, Ares is bashed in canon.
what?
Ares
Yeah,
is kind
true.
of bashed in canon. Hell, Ares is bashed in actual Greek mythology.
Yup.
Somehow Kratos just comes in, just starts trying to kill Ares.
All the gods looked to Athena, all knowing that if anyone had an answer, it would be her. She sat there with a look of concentration on her face as she tried to think of some scenarios. From what I gathered from Zeus and Poseidon, about an hour ago, there was a huge surge of power that swept through both of their respective domains. There was a 7.5 earthquake that happened, and a massive hurricane appeared out of nowhere. Literally, both of these effects are only Poseidon's domain.
Yep. So it's either him or one of his kids. He only really has one that's at power.
No, I'm talking about, like, this doesn't involve Zeus's domain at all.
Nope.
Also,
it's like it's either Poseidon or one of his kids.
Also, I don't see why they need Athena to explain this. I'm pretty sure just another anchorman could just say the exact same thing.
The focus of the power was focused somewhere in New York. The possibilities that this could be an attack are slim, due to the fact that the giants and titans are all still in Tartarus. The next likely subject would have to be someone who is quite powerful and has control of storms and earthquakes. Now, who do we know that is powerful enough to be able to simultaneously cause earthquakes and a hurricane? Athena questioned. All the gods thought for a moment, before looks of realization swept over their faces. Perseus, Artemis said in shock. Everyone else mirrored her shocked expression. If they weren't listening before, they were now. Percy had done so much for the gods, and while he was a huge pain in their immortal asses, he has never done anything for them to doubt his loyalty to them or his friends. He has changed them for the better, having them act more as a family than they have in hundreds of years, even if they do bicker from time to time. But hey, that's what families do. My son. But what would cause him to exhaust his powers to that point? Poseidon thought aloud. What are you talking about, brother? Hera questioned. Even she was worried about the young demigod that brought her family a little closer together. While Percy is very powerful, it would take a massive amount of energy for him to cause that big of a storm and that huge of an earthquake at the same time. He should only be able to achieve such a feat if his emotions were to the extreme. He would have had to be very angry or something to be able to do that. Something big must have happened to him for him to expel that much power. Something very emotional. Wow, Barnaclebeard. You actually explained something intelligently for once, Athena smirked.
Oh yeah, I don't know why that came into mind.
I feel like I identify strongest with Dionysus right now, who's probably still just asleep, bored out of his mind or something.
I honestly identify most with Luke. Or at least I envy him because Luke is fucking dead, so he doesn't have to go through this.
I mostly identify as Loki in this scenario.
Loki isn't even
there. And I don't want to be there either. Or in this case, I don't want to be here.
Okay, Tia Mama, to answer your question of why Zeus is king, first of all, it's because he was the only one Kronos didn't eat, and was therefore the one to free all of his siblings. And second of all, he decided to draw lots with only his brothers and excluded his sisters.
Good old Greek misogyny.
But yes, Hestia is in fact canonically the oldest Olympian. Zeus is the youngest. Of the children of Kronos, at least. I think the order is Hestia, Hades. Not sure what order Hera and Poseidon are in, and then Zeus. And not sure where Demeter falls in that either, because she's one of them. But Hestia is the absolute oldest. Hades is the oldest of the bit of Zeus, Hades, and Poseidon. When it comes to my domains and my son, I can be quite intelligent, Athena. He snapped at the wisdom goddess. Athena looked a little taken aback at his comment and the use of her actual name. She narrowed her eyes and was about to retort when she was cut off by Zeus. All right, does anyone know what could have caused Perseus to react like that? Zeus said. Everyone was thinking while Poseidon was worried on what could have caused his son to react the way he did. Whatever it was not good.
Wait,
What?
wasn't Hestia in this meeting, or did I just completely mishear
Hestia
something?
is, in fact, in the meeting.
So why hasn't she fucking mentioned anything yet?
Apparently, they wanted to put dramatic effect.
That's stupid.
Because the author has forgotten that Hestia knew everything last chapter.
Also, I just had a dumb idea. Instead of Percy's mom just dying, is it bad to just imagine Percy caused an earthquake and a hurricane just because he failed a math test?
That's not why he caused the earthquake and hurricane.
That's what happened to Hurricane, like
Wait.
with Hurricane Harvey.
Yeah, the earthquake and hurricane happened when he found Annabeth cheating on him with the new son of Zeus.
Oh shit, you're right. I forgot about that.
Oh.
Annabeth and Dickface.
I literally cannot remember his name. That's why I keep calling him the new son of Zeus.
I just call him Dickface.
Let's call him Chad, because this motherfucker managed to steal a woman from the guy that she literally went through hell with. Like, he has gotta have some game, to accomplish
Managed
that.
to turn a camp
Let's stand the fucking...
and also managed to turn a camp against the guy that literally led them through 2 wars.
Yeah, like, holy shit, dude, this guy's a Giga Chad.
Yeah.
Of the highest proportions.
He's a bard of the demigods.
Oh god.
Super charisma.
Then he's gonna lose it all once everyone realizes what a dick he is.
Like, off in the distance, you see Annabeth, the girlfriend of Perseus Jackson, the hero of Olympic. I roll to seduce.
you roll to seduce.
Yep, natural 20.
Roll with disadvantage.
Now let's see.
I got my ass kicked.
roll with disadvantage. It's still a nat 20. Okay, you succeed, but Percy beats the shit out of you. I still call it a win.
The DM is trying to bullshit out of this. It's like, well, let's see it or resist this. He rolls a natural 1. Okay, let's see how shit it gets. Rolls 2 D10 and a D100. He got like a 0, like a D01 out of 100. So Percy just runs out like a bitch.
Fucked up.
I'm tired.
Suddenly, Hades shot bolt right up in his throne room with a look of dread on his face. He closed his eyes and concentrated on his domain until he found what he was looking for. He opened his eyes to find everyone staring at him with quizzical expressions, as he turned even paler than he already was. Hades, what's wrong? What happened? Zeus asked. I think I know what caused Percy to react the way he did, and it is not good, Hades said uneasily as he looked at Poseidon. I am so sorry, brother, but 2 souls just entered my realm that are of great importance to Perseus and to you. Who could that be? The president? Tom Hanks? Scarlett Johansson? Apollo joked, trying to relieve the tension that descended upon the throne room. Artemis reached go over and smacked Apollo upside the head.
No, it's Riley Raid.
It's actually
I
Jimmy
can't think of
from
another
Daily
name
Shop
of
of
porn
10
star.
Love.
Son of a bitch. I literally cannot think of another one. What the hell?
Another what?
Essie Jane.
Name of a porn star. I
Oh.
read too much hentai, so I don't know any porn star names.
Essie Jane.
Just use Dojin artists, dude. Just use Dojin artists.
Be serious for once, Artemis yelled.
If you all died, I think everyone would celebrate.
Ouch! Come on, sis. I'm just trying to lighten the mood, Apollo said as he rubbed his head. Now is not the time for that, so be serious for once in your immortal life. And for the last time, don't call me sis! Artemis screeched.
Why is Artemis like even more of a bitch than usual?
Because she's already in love with Percy, so knowing that something bad happened to him has her upset.
He has the sad.
I mean, I think Apollo is upset here. He's joking because he's nervous, and he can't really deal with this because usually he has an idea of what's happening in the future, and this has caught him off guard, and so because of that, he feels insecure and is kind of trying to joke as a way to cope with it.
Also, I'm pretty sure Apollo is supposed to be immortal at this point in the timeline.
Fuck that. Fuck that series. That series can go suck a dick.
Is it not just imagine at the end of that sentence that Peach was going on? The Peach just ends with, also Apollo may just want to be a fucking dick.
I'm pretty sure that's where Peach was going. That's what it sounded like to me, anyway.
Fuck Trials of Apollo. All my homies say that.
Silence, you two! Zeus bellowed while thunder boomed in the background. The twins shut up real quickly after that. Silence, horny teen! For those on YouTube to see. He turned his attention back to Hades and motioned for him to continue. Taking a deep breath and steeling himself for the fallout, he looked at Poseidon. The two souls that just entered my realm are Percy's parents, Sally and Paul Blowfist. There was stunned silence before the whole throne erupted into shouts of disbelief and shock. The throne room suddenly began to shake violently as the gods turned to see the god of the seas surrounded in a sea-green light as he let out a massive yell. What? Poseidon boomed out. He quickly crossed over to Hades and grabbed him by the shoulders before looking at him with pleading eyes. Please, brother, tell me it's not true. Please tell me that you made a mistake and mistook them as different people. Please!
I'm sorry. It's a tear that's in your anger.
Poseidon begged as he began to tremble. Hades just looked at his brother with saddened eyes as he shook his head. Poseidon let go of him as he stumbled backwards into his throne, as he buried his head into his hands and wept. He truly loved Sally, and he couldn't believe that she was dead. She was a very special woman to him, a queen among women, that brought out his best qualities and gave him the gift of his son. He could only imagine what Percy was going through right now. Hades and Hestia got off their thrones and crossed over to their sobbing brother. Hestia pulled him into a hug, whispering words of comfort to him and slowly instilling hope into him. Hades placed his hand on his shoulder. They have made it into Elysium, brother, and even if they didn't, I would have made sure they were placed in automatically. All the gods watched the three of them as Poseidon slowly composed himself and thanked his brother and sister before sitting back in his throne. They nodded at him, while Hades went back to his throne while Hestia remained by Poseidon, because it was clear he still needed some support. Okay, so that explains what happened in New York, but why was he there in the first place? And was he also the cause of what happened at Camp Half-Blood? Camp Half-Blood is in New York.
It is? Holy shit.
Yeah.
I never knew. Imagine if the gods were like, it is? Wow, I thought it was still in London.
Hermes asked. Everyone snapped their heads to the messenger god. What are you talking about, bro? What happened to camp? Apollo asked. The fact that Apollo doesn't know what happened at camp. The fact that Apollo didn't know what was happening in Percy's home. You guys seriously don't know? I would have thought you would have at least seen or at least felt what happened at camp. About half the woods there was destroyed in some sort of explosion, and many of the cabins were damaged. Zeus narrowed his eyes at his son. How do you know this, Hermes? Have you been visiting your children and interfering in the affairs of mortals against the ancient laws? Zeus demanded. I have to admit that's in character for Zeus, to jump to a conclusion.
Yep.
No, I haven't broken the ancient laws, but ever since Percy has asked to claim our children, I decided to keep an eye on camp, to make sure everyone remains safe. Percy has shown me that watching over our children is something that we have neglected our children for a long time, and I try to take advantage of the situation. I do have a little more leeway with the ancient laws than others, and while I attend to my duties, if the route happens to take a route through camp, then no harm done, Hermes retorted with a sly grin on his lips. Zeus's face reddened in anger, but he could find no flaw in his son's logic. He had to admit that what he was doing was quite brilliant, and he was beginning to rethink some of the ancient laws put into place. Isn't the whole point of the ancient laws that even Zeus can't change them?
Yep.
Like it's something put in place by the fates themselves?
Yeah, as in they're older, more powerful, more primal. Or everything than him.
Yeah. Shaking his head of these thoughts, he turned his attention back to the council. So if that happened at camp, what could have caused Perseus to react like that not once, but twice? Of course.
All just clueless dumbasses.
Aphrodite shifted uneasily, and it did not go unnoticed by Athena.
Hey look, someone else who could have clued them all in. Aphrodite.
No, this is about to use her as a scapegoat. Saying it's not Annabeth's fault. At least that's my prediction. Do you have something to say, Aphrodite? Athena asked in suspicion. Aphrodite began to squirm a little as those intense gray eyes bore into her own. As her gaze continued to intensify, she couldn't help but blurt out, Annabeth cheated on... Aphrodite yelled out before she clapped her hands over her mouth. Athena gasped in shock and narrowed her eyes at the love goddess. She did no such thing. No child of mine would ever be that stupid and make that unwise of a decision. While I didn't approve of young Perseus at first because of his father, I know now that he is a great asset to us, and he is one of the few heroes that I would approve of to be with Annabeth. Athena yelled at Aphrodite.
Funny story about that.
Oh, really, Athena? Did you forget that I am the love goddess? I can sense all kinds of love, their strengths and how strong they are, Not to mention that I can also feel when a love breaks, much as Percy's did when he saw your daughter cheating on him with that son of Zeus. Aphrodite sarcastically spat at the wisdom goddess. Oh wow, it's actually not using her as a scapegoat. Athena's eyes widened at Aphrodite's statement. While she was angry that Aphrodite was accusing her daughter of doing something so unwise, it was an insult to her very nature. She couldn't fault
it's
the
partially Athena's fault. Like, she made her have her brain, like, her own brain. So for Annabeth to, like, cheat on her boyfriend, Athena must have also been reading some NTR dungeons or some shit before
God.
having Annabeth.
Oh God.
She was supposed to be like a college student in fucking California. I wouldn't put it past her.
Pretty sure she was. Annabeth's dad was in grad school at the time. It was an insult to her very nature. She couldn't fault the logic in what she said. She was the goddess of love, and who would know more about love than her? Shaking her head in her pride overruling logic, she glared at the love goddess. I'm still not completely convinced. I gave Perseus a ring to propose to my daughter not too long ago, so she wouldn't be stupid enough to cheat on him when he was about to propose, Athena replied stubbornly. Athena really don't know her own daughter. Then again, her daughter acting very out of character, so...
I mean, Athena's the god of knowledge, but she lacks the simple knowledge that these hoes just ain't loyal.
Begone, thought!
No,
Apparently she did not.
That's how Athena has an abortion.
Oh God.
Athena is book smart. She's not street smart. And she could not see from a mile away that her daughter is actually a whore.
That was pretty great, Peach. Aphrodite's eyes widened. Oh gods. So that's why his heart felt so absolute. He was about to propose and he caught them together. I said I wanted to make his love life interesting. Not even I would want that. Enough! Zeus bellowed, slamming his master bolt into the floor, glaring at everyone in the throne room. Stop this childish argument now! We have bigger things to worry about right now, like the location of Perseus and the current condition of camp. Drama King.
I swear to God, make up your fucking mind instead of jumping in and out of the damn chat.
Who?
Says he has internet connections right now.
Does this look like the face of someone who gives a shit?
Drama King, many of the gods thought, but they didn't say it out loud because what he said was right. Artemis POV! Chapter 3, and we already get the main love interest point of view.
Oh.
To say that I was surprised with what has happened during this council meeting would be a huge understatement. It started with the usual sibling argument with my immature brother, me telling him to stay away from my hunters, then he calling me little sis, even though I'm older, and it dissolving to me shooting arrows at him, which is a great stress reliever, by the way. Then we find out that the mysterious power surge that we were here to discuss about was from none other than Perseus. Then we find out that what caused him to lose control was the death of his parents, causing Poseidon to break down into tears, and finally learning that something similar happened at camp, which seems to be connected to Perseus, and that the daughter of Athena seems to have cheated on the boy. No, man. We've got to have that distinction.
What the fuck?
Hearing about the death of Sally Jackson was a sad to hear. A great woman like that was struck down, and the world could use more of her in this world. If she was a maiden, I would have immediately offered her a place in the hunt. But what I found completely unbelievable was that a man got his heart broken by a woman, and said woman cheated on said man. That is definitely a first. I really hope that the author doesn't actually think this.
What? I've read my eyes for Sam.
I hope it's
What?
them being stupid.
What? Oh.
I really hope that's just the author trying to get inside Artemis's head. And even then, I really don't think Artemis is that dumb.
Holy fucking shit. Damn.
Nothing like that must have ever happened before. It's usually the men who are the vile, disgusting, no-good cheaters that cheat on women. I'm still in shock. But the biggest question on my mind was, why would anyone cheat on Perseus? He is the only acceptable male on this planet. He is so unlike his species that he defies everything I see in men. Where all men are vile, disgusting, unpleasant, horrible, mean, uncaring, and cowardly, he is loyal, kind, caring, brave, and incredibly skilled. Not to mention, he is incredibly handsome. Whoa, back up a second. Why am I thinking about whether he is handsome or not? It must be because the idea of a girl cheating on a boy is so taboo that it must have disoriented me.
My God, Artemis sounds super feminist right now. And super horny.
I mean, she hasn't gotten laid in 6,000 years, so she is super horny.
She also makes guys super horny. Look at what she did to Actaeon. Gave him a nice little set of antlers.
I was staring off into space, contemplating all these events, before I snapped back to attention when Apollo started waving his hand in front of my face.
That's back to reality. Oh, it was gravity.
Artie? Hello? Woohoo! Earth to Artemis! Anyone home? I'm going to go flirt with your hunters, Apollo said, waving his hand in front of my face. Apollo! You will do no such thing! And stop calling me Artie! I yelled at him while slapping his hand away. Ha! Knew that would get your attention, he said with a grin. Yes, it did, and if you even think about flirting with my hunters, you'll get an arrow where the sun don't shine. I threatened, pulling out my bow to emphasize my threat. Apollo paled before he held his hands up in surrender. Chill, sis. You've been staring off into space for a while, and Zeus is about to speak again. I turned my attention to Father, where he was retrieving his bolt from the floor. Now that is over with, Hermes, flash down to Camp Half-Blood and gather up all of the cabin counselors and bring them here. We need to know what happened down there, and to know if they know the location of Perseus. Bring Chiron as well, Zeus said.
Oh, and don't forget, this is the part where they find out that, oh, the son of Zeus was lying to all of them, and that Perseus never did any of this stuff, and they feel regret for their actions.
I'll do you one better. This is the part where the son of Zeus convinces the gods of everything, and the gods turn against Percy.
I don't think that's going to happen.
I know.
If it does, it feels super forceful.
If it did, the only ones that it wouldn't work are Hestia and Artemis, and it would be those three against the world. Super edgy.
Imagine, the only way I could see that working is if it turned out that the kid was a legacy, descendant of Sisyphus. That
or,
you know, trick the gods.
Or, he convinces Piper of everything, and Piper uses her upgraded charm speak on the gods. Honestly, if he had used that strategy to turn the camp against Percy, I would accept it. Because Piper hasn't known Percy for as long as everyone else.
True.
So it would be easier to turn her against him. And also with the son of Zeus being her boyfriend's brother, it would give him a bit of an in with her. Sorry, just trying to make the story make sense. It's not worth it. Hermes nodded before rising from his throne and flashing out. All the gods sat in their thrones aside from Hestia, who decided to remain by Poseidon's throne, whispering words of comfort in his ear. Everyone just looked uncomfortable. Athena and Aphrodite were glaring at each other because of what was said earlier, and Zeus looked over at his usually strong brother, who looked like he was about to pass out at any moment. After a few minutes, Hermes returned to the throne room with Chiron, Clarisse, Chris, the Stolls, Katie, Will, Grover, Annabeth, Zane, and the other cabin counselors. All the counselors looked curious as to why they were there. Oh yeah, his name's Zane!
What a fucking shitty name.
Right? Should have just named him Kyle.
Name him Ted or something, I don't know.
Clarisse and Chris looked annoyed as they stood a little ways away from the others. Annabeth looked like she had seen better days. Her hair was a mess. Her clothes were wrinkled and her eyes were bloodshot. Zane stood next to her with an arm wrapped around her, which escaped none of the gods' view. Demigods! You have been brought here today because of an event that happened at camp. A massive surge of power went through our domains earlier today, and we were informed something similar happened at camp. We believe it had something to do with Perseus Jackson, Zeus said before a contemplative look crossed his face. All the counselors, aside from Clarisse, Chris, and Chiron, reacted immediately, each gaining looks of contempt and disgust at the name of their fellow demigod. Annabeth had a look of pain on her face, before her eyes filled with unshed tears. What did that jackass do now? Katie said in exasperation. The gods' eyes widened when they heard that venomous statement come from the normally peaceful daughter of Demeter. Katie, what do you mean? Why do you call the savior of Olympus and your friend that? Asked a confused Demeter who, for once, wasn't even thinking about cereal. That piece of Minotaur dung is not our friend, Travis yelled. Yeah, not after what he did to all of us, Connor followed up after his brother. I narrowed my eyes at the two boys before I looked around to see all the looks of confusion and disbelief on all the gods' faces. A small tremble ran through the throne room, causing the demigods to stumble. I turned to look at a furious-looking Poseidon, who was gripping his trident so tightly that his knuckles turned white. How dare you! How dare you say such things about my son?
What are you doing, you motherfuckers?
He saved Olympus twice, and you treat him as if he is a traitor. I should vaporize you all where you now stand. A furious Poseidon fumed as his trident burst into a greenish blue light. All the demigods began to cower at the look of the angry god of the seas was giving them. His bright sea-green eyes darkened till they were almost black, the color of a raging hurricane. Most of the gods who had children present stood up and began to yell at the enraged sea god. Not even think about harming their children. They shut up real quickly after Poseidon sent them a withering gaze in their direction. I would never admit it due to my pride, but my uncle can be downright terrifying when he wants to be. Hades, sometimes I think that he could overthrow my father if he wasn't so loyal to his family. I mean...
What the fuck Poseidon did at one point rebel.
Yeah, he actually did at one point.
I mean, it didn't work out in the long term.
It only didn't work out because one of the other gods decided to free Zeus.
It was a team effort.
Yeah, Poseidon is, if we go by their real world origins, Poseidon is actually the oldest god of the gods. Like, he was there for the like before it became the Greek mythos we know. He was part of the Minoan mythology.
I mean, Zeus was Deus Pater of the fucking Indo-European, like where they came from. If we want to go that far back, but so is Zeus, because Zeus, there's the mountain on Crete that they said, oh, that's like the body of Zeus. Like there's a mountain, like there was a myth, a sect on Crete that thought that Zeus died and that he was buried in Crete. Those fucking arrogant Cretans.
After reining in some of his anger, he looked back at the group of assembled demigods and waited for them to speak again. Grover recovered from his fright and timidly looked at the fuming sea god. But Lord Poseidon, it's true. He's no longer our friend for what he was done to all of us, he said cautiously.
So did you just say for what he was done?
That's what was written.
What I have written, I have written.
Poseidon's grip on his trident seemed to get even tighter. And and pray tell, what has he done? He said in an icy voice. The message behind that question was clear. Choose your words carefully, or else I'll feed you to the Kraken. Grover gulped before continuing. He was saying that satyrs and tree nymphs were useless, and he intentionally burned Juniper's tree, along with a number of other nymphs. He said Demeter's kids were useless, and he destroyed my precious garden with flowers I got from my mother and father, Katie said. He rattled on us about a major prank we were going to pull that took us months to come up with, and he was dissing our cabin too, Travis and Connor said. He broke my favorite bow that Dad gave me for Christmas. Said I was a lousy healer, Will added.
Wow, that's kind of petty.
What? Literally, okay, literally the only one here who has a genuine gripe is Grover.
Like his is like, oh, Percy was kind of being racist to us, and the person after him was like, yeah, he broke my favorite bow.
Like, he was being racist and literally tried to kill my wife and her family.
I mean, if I was Poseidon, I'm like, okay, at least that's fair. And then the guy goes like, and he broke my favorite bow, and like, you were good as an ass.
Like, he was a little mean and messed up my garden. He got us in trouble for a prank He got us in trouble for a prank we were about to pull. He broke my bow and insulted me. Like, yeah. And even then, with Grover's empathy wink, that was even acknowledged. Grover would know that it wasn't Percy that did this stuff. All the counselors began complaining and listing things that they thought Percy did to them before Clarisse finally couldn't take it anymore. What is wrong with you all? Clarisse exploded. You act as if Percy is devil spawn. I keep telling you that he never did any of those things. Percy would never do those things to his friends. His fatal flaw is loyalty, so he's incapable of being able to do things malicious in nature to his friends. Yeah, and what's wrong with all of you? Chris said, turning to the counselors of the minor gods. He brought your parents the honor and respect they deserve. He got you cabins built for all of you and your parents. He got them to claim you and moved you out of the Hermes cabin. You act as if he never did any of that. All the demigods pondered their words and had looks of uncertainty on their faces. Hey guys, don't listen to them. I saw with my own eyes Percy doing all those things. I heard him say all those negative things about you all too, Zane said with a smug grin as they began to nod their heads.
Not things, thinks.
Yeah, those negative thinks about you all.
He suddenly turned into an old fucking noir character.
His whole argument is stand upon about this guy going like, I heard all this shit he did.
It's like, Clarisse, his fatal flaw makes it literally impossible for him to do this stuff. Zane. But I saw it happen.
I'm just imagining, like, Zane be like, hey, listen here. Okay, I saw the whole thing with my own eyes. Hey.
Who you gonna believe? Who you gonna believe?
Got nothing coming.
Who you gonna believe? Your boy, the son of Zeus, or this worthless daughter of Ares? When that boy said those words, there seemed to be a sort of yellow-whitish glow around him. It was faint, barely even there, but still enough for me to see. What was that? I was torn out of my thoughts when I heard my father yell, "Zane Anthony Sky, what have you done?"
What a fucking name! What a fucking name!
That's his name.
What is the last name in Sky? What?
Oh, Zeus is either
Like,
shit
damn,
at naming.
Zeus, you have low fucking standards, fam.
So there's chapter 3. Decided to end it with a little cliffhanger. So what did you all think? Can you guess what's happening? Can you guess what will happen next? Read to find out.
This fic is finding new depths that I never even dared to believe.
To everyone who has reviewed so far, thank you so much. Thank you to all who have read my story so far and liked, favorited, followed, and reviewed. It means a lot. Please leave a review.
It's so boring.
That name.
I feel like the author had to think of something that relates to lightning without it being lightning. They're like,
But he didn't have to. What does Jackson have to do with the sea? What does Grace have to do with lightning? What does Chase have to do with wisdom? What does D'Angelo have to do with death?
hey, I'm trying to make sense out of this. I am failing miserably. I'm trying.
Yes, Jackson, the famous word for sea.
Yeah, that's going to be it for tonight.